In this lesson, we're going to take what we learned in the previous lesson and apply it to filling our objects with colors and images, textures, and all kinds of cool things. You can see I've opened up a file to work with. It's called colorfills1.cdr. If you've got the exercise files, go to the Lesson 6 folder and open this one up. You'll have what I have. Now, before we start looking at the different methods for filling up our objects and so on, let's talk about the default. If we go over to our toolbox here, click on the rectangle tool, for example, and I draw a rectangle over here to the left side of my page. I click and drag across and down, and look what I get. It looks like a rectangle with a black border and a white fill. In reality, it's a black outline with no fill at all. So if I was to go to the center here and move this over my other objects, you can see I can see right through it. So I'm going to hit my delete key. That is the default. If you don't like the default, here's how you change it. I'm going to go back to my pick tool. I have nothing selected on my page. So let's say I wanted my new default fill color to be blue. Well, I come over to my color palette here and I click on blue. I get a little dialog box, and you may have seen this before, uniform fill. The message is saying you don't have anything selected. What do you want to apply blue to? Is it graphics? Is it artistic text? Is it paragraph text as well? Any or all of these could be selected. With graphics selected, if I click OK and now go to draw a rectangle, click on the rectangle tool, click and drag across and down, it's now filled with blue. Easy as that to choose your default. I'm going to hit my delete key and I'm going to choose no fill. So I've got nothing selected. Might as well go to my pick tool. And right at the top of every palette is this little box with an X through it. That represents no fill or no color. So I'm going to click on that. I see the same default. When I click OK, I've just set the default back so when I draw objects, they don't have a fill. I would apply the fill after the fact. That's what we're going to do now. We'll start with our circle. So we click on the circle. Easiest way to fill that up with a color is go click on the color in your color palette. So if you don't see the color you're looking for, remember you can expand a color palette down at the bottom by clicking the arrow pointing left with the line in front of it. Find the color you're looking for. I'm going to go for this color right here known as neon red. When I click on it, the circle is now filled with the color red. What I haven't done is change the outline color. Now the outline is currently set to 0.5 points. You notice that up here in the property bar. If I make this thicker, like 4 points for example, you can see the black really shows up. Let's double it now to 8 points. To change an outline color, we'll talk about that in the next lesson. Let's go to our square. Let's fill this one up, but using a different method. Another method is to drag a color. If I go over to my palette here and expand it, and I want to fill this up with blue, sky blue. Well, we know we can click on it, but I could also drag this color by clicking and holding my mouse button down. And when I get inside, you'll see it looks a little bit different. Right now out here, I've got my blue swatch with a little paper fold in the top right corner. When I move inside an object, that disappears so I can actually drop the color in there. You don't want to be on the outline. Notice when I touch the outline, I can change my outline to blue. We'll do that in the next lesson. But when I'm inside my object, it's not hollow. When I let go, I've just filled it with blue. So that's a couple of different ways to fill up an object with a color. Another way is to use our paint bucket down here in our toolbox. And you'll notice that that is our fill tool with a little flyout. If I click and hold this down, you can see the options are a uniform fill, fountain fill, patterns, textures, postscript, no fill at all, or have access to millions of color combinations through the color option at the bottom. Let's start at the very top with our uniform fill. When I choose uniform fill, the dialog box opens up giving me models like the CMYK or RGB, hue, saturation, brightness, lots of different models to choose from. I'm going to go to RGB. Now I've got over here on the right hand side my different colors, and then I can get into the different hues. Click down here, maybe a nice bright pink. When I found that color, all I have to do is click OK. If you're really good and technical with colors too and you know the values, you can type them in here. I'm going to change 230 to 220. When I hit my tab key, it's going to change the color slightly, move me around here in the color palette. When I click OK, I've changed the color of my fill using my fill tool. Let's go over to the fill tool again, click the drop down and go to fountain fill this time. When I choose fountain fill, now I've got some different types of fills, linear being the default. By default, linear is going to use the existing color and white, and it's going to display a preview over here as it goes from that original pink color to white. But I can change all of these options, such as linear can be radial. Now it's coming from the center out, white all the way out to my pink. I could go to a conical fill, which gives me this three-dimensional look. And the last one is our square. Since we're working with a square, let's use that one, but we'll change our colors. Let's change it from pink to a nice dark blue over here, sky blue. And instead of white, we'll go to yellow, and we'll click OK. Very cool. That's a different effect, isn't it? Let's go to our triangle now. Another option is to choose a pattern. When I click on Pattern Fill, I'm going to see another dialog box. I'm going to move this over. There's 2-color, full color, and bitmap options here. With 2 colors selected, I click the arrow on the side to choose a pattern, like bricks for example, and then I choose my front and back colors. For the front, I'm going to go to a light gray. For the back, I'm going to go to a nice dark red. As I scroll through my palette, there's a nice dark red right there. And you can see the result in the preview. All I have to do is click OK to apply it. You can see the size of the bricks and it fills in nicely. Let's go back there for a second. So click our drop down, go back to Pattern Fill, because there are some other options. First of all, not just the colors, but if we wanted to, down below you can see the row or column offsets can be adjusted. I can also just skew and rotate those bricks if I wanted to. I'm going to rotate a little bit. I'm going to go up to 10 degrees. And the width and the height, I'm going to change it from 2, make it much smaller. Actually, I'm going to click and drag and type 1 and 1. And when I click OK, watch what happens. There's a tilt, and you can see the bricks are much smaller. Full control over the fill. Let's try another option. We'll go back to our pattern fill, but this time, let's go up to full color. Here from this drop down, you'll see lots of options here using full colors. Some of them are very fun, some of them are very professional in nature. So I'm going to go up to this one here, right in the center. You can see that I have full access to width and height, the size, the X and Y origin, skewing, rotating. I'm going to change the rotate back to 0 so it's straight up and down, and click OK. And that's a totally different pattern using some color. One more time. We also have bitmaps to choose from, and these are like little images that will be repeated. I'm going to go over to this one here. It looks like bubbles. Let's change our size to go even smaller here. I'm going to go to 0.5 by 0.5. And you can see what that looks like in the preview. I click OK. You can see all the little bubbles repeated throughout my triangle. Choose my zoom tool, click and drag, and let's do some more. Back to my pick tool, make sure the triangle is selected, and I'll go to my fill tool, and let's try some textures now. This is really neat. There are a lot of styles in the texture library. You can see styles at the bottom, samples, lots of different sample groups. If I go to sample 6, for example, I'm going to see a list of texture fills that apply to my sample 6 library. Cotton candy, for example, electric fence. Some of them are really cool looking. Hall of Flame. That's kind of neat. You can see the first and second colors being used. They can be adjusted. You can also adjust the texture number, the density, the brightness. When we click OK, it's applied to our triangle. Let's go back to our fill and back down to texture fill. And let's just try one more. I'm going to go down to samples 9, and I'm going to scroll down to alien eyes. Now that's the preview of the default, but watch what happens when I click the preview button. There are numerous, endless combinations, and each time I click preview, I get a different combination. When I see something I like, I can click OK. I could also come in here and work with these values if I wanted to, locking or unlocking any of the values and adjusting the others, including the colors being used. And when I've got what I want, I click OK to apply it to my selected object. All right, let's go down to PostScript fill using PostScript language now. If I went down to bricks, for example, click refresh. I'm going to preview my fill to see what that looks like. You can see tiny little bricks. Clicking refresh will always update. Let's go to carpet, color bubbles. There's a long list of PostScript textures down here. I'm going to go to stained glass and click OK. That is now applied to my object. I think you're seeing how the possibilities are really endless when it comes to filling objects, and not just with color. Last option is color. We're going to skip over none. This sets us back to no fill at all. But when we skip over that to color, watch this. The color docker now appears over here. You can see we've got the different models to choose from again, CMYK, RGB. Let's say this document was going to be posted on the web. We might want to choose web safe colors using some of the RGB colors. We've got sliders to select the color we're looking for, and any combination of these colors gives us our final color up here. We see a preview of it. You could also type in values if you know them exactly. And of course, hitting tab will move you around to the different values and show you a preview using the sliders. I'm going to go a little bit redder. And finally, when you've got what you're looking for, click the fill button and it fills up your object with the selected color. Shift F4 takes you back out. I'm going to deselect anything that's selected to see the end result. So we've really focused in on the objects and filling them up on the inside. Well, that border that goes around the outside, also known as the outline, we need to talk about changing the outline colors and even the textures and some of the patterns that we've looked at. But this time working with outlines. We'll do that in the next lesson.